Ken, thank you for joining me on Success Stories podcast. In this podcast, I always want to take agents through the story, right? Most of us are finished products on the internet. Um, in 2024, you were our number one team in the state of Michigan, 720 sold homes. That's more homes than I ever sold in a single year. That is an insurmountable number that puts you in a very elite category of agents. And I know that when I got started and I was doing 10, 12 transactions a year, and I'd look up and see someone crushing at that level. Um, it was not even my realm of possibility, right? It just seems so unfathomable. That's you're doing two homes a day, including Saturdays and Sunday.
hmm hmm
So maybe start at when you got into the business. What brought you? Was this a first career? Was this a second career? Was this a third career?
Yep.
Was this
Yep.
a backup plan or a aspirational? Maybe. So start there and kind of walk us through, and then I'll
Sure.
unpack some of the really cool stuff about your story.
Yeah. So I got into real estate July of 2014. So it was a second career for me. People ask what's my only regret. To me, it was I did not get into real estate sooner. So I'm 38. I got into it 11 years ago when I was 27. Out of college, I worked in the grocery industry for Aldi Foods, Aldi grocery store. So they have a really attractive kind of post undergrad district manager training program. So I was in groceries for 5 years as a district manager. So the cool thing about that was, I learned how to build businesses from the ground up. Ran 4 to 5 grocery stores at a time, really handled every function of the business, but really learned, how to kind of set your own schedules, stay self-disciplined, kind of be your own boss most of the time, and really just handle a lot of people, leadership, and processes, even when I was not ready for it as a 22-year-old young grad at a Central Michigan University. So I did that for the first 5 years. I was 5 years in the business. Aldi has a pretty lean organizational structure. So at 5 years, a lot of people kind of, look at their career, take a step back at Aldi and say, what's in it for me? Am I going to stay in it for the long haul, or is there something more, something different? The one thing I loved about Aldi, I mean, I liked a lot about Aldi, but the one thing I didn't prefer was I've always been a sales guy at heart. And, I was put in long hours and really didn't have any financial incentive to do a better job, hit certain metrics, work more hours. There was really no commission structure or bonus structure. But I was happy. And it's funny kind of looking back, I felt like I was a big thinker within the box that Aldi had me in. And that's not a knock to Aldi. That's what most people do. They put people in a comfort zone of salary and structure and kind of career trajectory and path. And, I was a big thinker within that. And then kind of took a step back and said, okay, well, I love sales. I love commission. I love running my own business. I have a really healthy, good network in SOI in Metro Detroit. What would be good for me? And I thought insurance or real estate. Insurance, believe it or not, Leo, was actually my first choice. I went through kind of a 5-step interview process at State Farm. The only catch was I didn't make it through the last 2 steps. I made it through the first three and to open up my own State Farm insurance branch, and that didn't work out. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's real estate. I did have a really good college buddy who had just started a real estate team. Again, this is back in 2014 when really teams weren't as big in commonplace as they are now. So was just starting a little startup real estate team in Metro Detroit at Keller Williams. So I said, well, shit, I guess I'm going to get into real estate. Took a week vacation at Aldi, got my license, went in full tilt, which looking back, and 11 years in, talking to thousands of agents, they say, what's kind of maybe your secret sauce or what's something that you can say, man, I'm glad I did it that way. To me, it was going all in on real estate. So for me, I had a little bit of money saved up in the bank, not a lot of money, but I kind of put all my eggs in my own basket. And instead of trying to do the dual career thing, which I know a lot of people, have to do or really prefer to do, I got out of my comfort zone, went all in real estate and really just started from there. So that was in July of 2014. I remember my first day at Keller Williams, walked up to my team leader, full suit on. I came from a corporate background and I kind of said, hey, where do I go to train? Team leader at the time looked at me. He's like, just talk to your team leader, not Keller Williams team leader, but kind of your startup team leader. He'll tell you what to do. I'm like, okay. So I go to my team leader who was my college friend, and I'm like, what do I do today? He's like, you know what? He goes, just go through everybody in your phone, try to play the game, A to Z, see how many people you can, or try not to skip people and just call everybody A to Z and just tell them that you're no longer selling groceries and you're in real estate. So one of the things that I think I do well is I act first, think second. And sometimes that nips me in the butt, but most of the time in real estate and in sales, it's done me really well. So without thinking too much about overtraining or scripts or this or that, I'm like, okay, well, I like talking to people. I'll just do what he said. So I picked up the phone. I started calling everybody on my phone. Hey, long time no talk. This is Ken Hirschman. Hey, long time no talk, whatever, right? I'm no longer selling groceries. I've transitioned to selling real estate. That was kind of my joke. I'm not selling potato chips anymore. I'm selling houses. And I ended up getting 9 deals in my first 45 days under contract.
Well, listings or buyers? I'm always curious about that.
I think it was 8 buyers, one listing. At the time, I was 27, so I had a lot of kind of a first time home buyer circle and whatnot. So most of the people on my phone were kind of in that range, right?
Statistically, the first couple of transactions are almost buyers because first time home buyers are like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'll trust you, versus a seller is way more
Sure.
sophisticated and is looking for track
Yep.
record and that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So, well, and I think too. I mean, one of the questions I get asked a lot, and what I want everyone to know is,
Let's
I
go
think
right there,
that
though.
yeah,
You just kind of glazed over that. Like 9 deals in 45 days is unheard of. Did you
yeah,
have an unusually large sphere of influence, or you just literally called everybody and were consistent with the script?
both. And I started. I knew about 45 days prior to getting into real estate full time that I was joining. So I was getting my license and, so kind of day, let's say negative 45 in the pipeline, I was kind of teeing up some people. But at the time, I wasn't calling people every day. I was just letting people know I was making that transition. So a lot of the people in the first 45 days was really from the first 30 days of phone calls. So kind of the mantra is there's people in your phone today that are looking to go see a house today or this week, and it's true because I kind of lived it back in 2014.
All right. So 2014, you had a good year.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
did you close in your first 12 months?
34 transactions.
And at that point, you were a buyer's agent on your friend's team.
Yeah, technically, yeah, I was doing both, but I mean, I guess by title, I was buyer specialist, but I think I threw a couple listings in there, but it was mainly, let's say 30, 31 of the 34 were buy side transactions.
And you,
32 of them were SOI, self generated.
so just to be clear, you started as a team member. You were not a partner. You were not a principal.
Correct. Yep. Started on a team. Yep. Yep. And, um, you know, obviously I'm a team leader now, but objectively, I think that was one of the best decisions that I ever made was joining the team. Um, Despite 32 of the 34, like to me, it wasn't about lead source. It was about how many of those 34 would I not have closed? How many purchase agreements did I need help writing? How many negotiations did, my team leader help me navigate through? I really believe that the reason why I closed the 34 was because I joined the team, regardless of leads or leads that they didn't provide me.
And that's a super interesting take. So by the way, that aligns with what I tell people all the time, right? Like
Hmm.
I speak often in front of large groups of agents, and without fail, I have like the 22-year-old run up to me afterwards because of my personal story and getting in so young. They're like, "What would you do if you could start all over again?" Right? And I
Yep.
did start on a team just like you. And I did close a whole bunch of deals I probably wouldn't have been able to close on my own. And actually, my story, they were all sphere of influence as well. But again, it's
Sure.
like, A, I had somewhere to go and other people to sit with and have the accountability of other
Yep.
people making phone calls. What I also tell young folks is, look, if you want to compress time, look around your market and see who you want to be when you grow up, right? And
Yep.
that could be like the lead gen specialist, the luxury specialist, the investor specialist, the new construction specialist.
Hmm.
And I always throw in the caveat also, like as you're interviewing these people, make sure that they're like the type of human you want to be, right? If like
Yep.
they're divorced and their kids hate them, that might not be the person you want to be hanging around with.
Yep.
But how would you counsel newer agents that are considering joining a team? And again, like I do a lot of talking on cameras, and I actually love our solos, and I think some of them make more money than team leaders.
For
Um,
sure.
and I constantly say one's not better than the other. It's what's best for your personality type for your family, for the season of life you're in.
Yep.
But if you are a newer agent, because again, newer doesn't speak to age, right? You could be 22 or you could be
Sure.
62. And if you're new to real estate, I'd still advise that you join a team um,
Yep.
for the beginning, right? And I actually say that
Yep.
to team leaders. I say to team leaders all the time, like, you also need to own the fact that it's a process, right? Like,
Yep.
I've talked to friends of mine who are team leaders who, like, somebody was on the team for 2 or 3 years and then they wanted to go solo, and it was like clutching of the pearls moment. And how could you do this to me? It's like, no, that's the end goal, right? The vast majority
Sure.
of people want to be in your orbit, Ken, because they want to be you one day, right? So, and
Sure.
it needs to be aspirational, and I suggest to team leaders to have a path to that, and that's why I believe our system's better, right? Because they stay in your world, they can
Absolutely.
get your support, and you're still financially compensated for helping them and pouring into them. So, brand
Sure.
new agent, what should they be looking for when they're interviewing a team leader, in your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with, again, the person. You have to trust the team leader and the system they have and really believe that it's the right support system to get you to where you want to be. So when the agents come to me and they're interviewing me along with other different teams, I say, you know what? Most teams operate similarly. Like we think our secret sauce is, we have some nuances to our team and we probably execute them a little bit better. We might be a little more hands on. We might have a couple different additional levels of support, but like for the most part, teams operate similarly. You have to really look at who the team leader is, who your coach is going to be, who the, kind of that support, that mentorship system. And a lot of it goes with comfort because that person, whether it's me or my sales director or my COO or one of my 8 coaches, they're really going to be your, right hand and vice versa for the next 2 or 3 years. So when people are considering joining a team, I look at it and say, I don't think you're going to come to our team or any team and sign in blood for the next 10 years, right? This could be, like you said, a process or a stepping stone, and that's okay. But a lot of people want to get to where I'm at or just be a small team leader or be a top agent. And until you see it, until you see someone else doing it, and until you learn how to build a big business through generating leads yourself, you don't have that freedom of choice. So if you want, and I would highly encourage it, come on the ride with me and let's teach you how to sell 30, 40, 50, 60 houses. Because if you don't know how to generate leads yourself, you're not going to be able to generate leads or teach people how to generate leads, which is what a team leader does. I mean, really, I'm the sales director of a startup sales organization, even as the CEO, and that really hasn't changed too much in the last 11 years, growing 2 teams. So, go with the person, the support system. It's not the best leads or the flex. I mean, the flex partnership in the quantity of leads, that's a nice bonus, but who's going to really spend time with you, teach you how to hunt so that down the road you have that freedom of choice to really evolve?
By the way, I say I'm the chief growth officer here, right? My job is
Yep.
to, because again, the business that we're in is you are our customer, and my job is to help you grow, right? Whether it's, you know, the Zillow Flex Mastermind that I lead for you guys,
Yep.
getting you guys better tools. It's the exact same behavior, right? Like just like
Yep.
you guys do um, for your team members, that's what I do for you guys. So, walk us through. You start off on the team. Did
Yep.
you stay on the team? Did you go solo? Did was there what Tell us a little bit about the that messy middle,
Sure.
right? Brand new
Yeah.
agent,
Yeah.
number one in Michigan. What did the middle look like?
There's there's no such thing as a messy middle. It's messy all the time when you're growing. On the path to 2 teams and number one in Michigan, it's always messy. So if you can't embrace messy and change, then maybe the growth in team leader isn't for you. But so I joined the team. Shortly after joining the team, in the next 3 or 4 months, I became an owner of the team, which is unique. That doesn't really happen for
You
most.
said 3 months.
Yes. Yeah. Or 4 months. So October of 2014, I became one of the owners, of the team. And granted, it was a newer kind of startup team and they were kind of figuring some things out too. So in hindsight, they probably said, man, I may have gave Ken some ownership too soon, but I really didn't know how the real estate landscape worked, but owner sounded awesome. So I took it and ran with it. So then, of course, when you become an owner, you add some different responsibilities. one of the things that I kept doing is obviously I had to sell because real estate sales was still a significant piece of my income. So along with the sales piece, a big piece of what I did was the recruiting piece. When I was at Aldi Foods, I was a recruiter as well as the district manager. I was always kind of recruiting and cheerleading for every company and everywhere I was at. That's just kind of how I am. So naturally jumped into the recruiting role and really helped with the growth of that team as an owner while simultaneously selling. So year one, I sold 34 houses, and then year two, I think I sold 62. And then I scaled back to about 35 in year three as the team grew and my responsibilities as team leader owner grew and allowed me to kind of step back away from the sales piece of it.
And then what happened? Then tell us how you got.
I'll get you up to speed. So we were at Keller Williams, and then about a year and a half into my KW career, we decided to transition into an independent brokerage. So we were the real team at Keller Williams Lakeside, and then about a year and a half in, we transitioned to Real Team Real Estate, and we went that indie broker model. We still ran the model exactly like a team, but we were independent, of course. So did that, and in about 2.5 years, we grew that to I think I was agent number 6. We grew it to 80, or no, I think it was 77 agents across 5 locations. And when I left in November of 2017, we were doing about 1,100 transactions
Oh,
with
wow.
those 77 agents. So yeah, really big operation. It was one of the biggest independents in Michigan. Um,
And it was a
you
full
know,
time,
I would
right, where you were still making it rain.
say it again.
This was still a full teamage, meaning that you were making it rain.
Yes. Yep. Yep, you got it. So, and then in kind of fall of 2017, I was looking to, just getting a little antsy, wanted something a little bit different. There were multiple owners, and I was looking forward to doing my own thing. So I was able to kind of dissolve that partnership. That brokerage is still up and running and very successful today, but I was able to dissolve that. I transitioned about a month later to Keller Williams, which is what I knew and what I started at. And then I was there for about 7, 8 months and then made the transition in August of 2018 to EXP. So big team, 77 agents, dissolved my partnership there. So I went back from having 77 agents and really not showing a house for 2 or 3 years back to, startup mode, which for me was just Ken selling as fast and as many, homes as he could, right? Helping as many buyers and sellers. So I was right back into the thick of it, which for me was fun because I'm a little bit of a sicko, but it was right back into the 9 to 11 lead generation, 11 to 12 lead follow up, kind of quick lunch, and then more lead generation or showing houses, going on appointments till 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I was right back into that. And I go back to that because, like I had told you before, really the only reason why I'm a team leader, and I tell everybody this, like I'm not that different than team members or other agents. I was able to generate more leads than I can handle. When I was able to generate more leads than I could handle, I had a need and a massive value for my first buyer's agent. When I had more leads for me and my first buyer's agent, naturally I had value for my second buyer's agent. So really in each instance,
I want
yeah,
you
go
to
ahead.
pause right there and just let that sink in for anyone listening. Um,
Sure.
I say that all the time about teams. I did the BAM BBQ yesterday with Byron, for about 4,000 agents, and he asked me a question about teams, and I actually said lots of teams in real estate are social clubs, right? The only reason to grow a team is because you ran out of time to convert leads to appointments, right? Like, or
100%.
appointments to transactions. And the only time you should add a body, the first leverage piece is always admin. And when you and your admin are out of time and you're leaving money on the table, that's when you add a buyer's agent or a listing partner. So thank you for
Yep.
saying that. It's very important that, especially if people are looking for teams or people are
Yeah, of
deciding to
course.
start a team, it's like you need to have an excess of leads before you start bringing people into your world.
Absolutely. Um, and then just kind of speaking on the messing middle, I remember something that's a good story to share. I had this big brokerage and, everyone's like, oh my gosh, like, why would you leave? And you had 77 agents, 5 locations. You're probably making all this money. Um, I remember specifically, I was sitting in a Keller Williams office, Leo, because I transitioned to KW before EXP. and my new office didn't have any furniture. It was the day I got my new office. It was the first time I had my own office. I was sitting there on the floor, lead generating from 9 to 11, and that was probably like the happiest day of my life. Back to like your roots, right? Just talking to buyers and sellers, calling your SOI, generating leads. Like to me, that's real estate in its purest form. So I think you have to do it. Obviously, the byproduct of a lot of success is making good money and financially free and all these different things, but you gotta love what you do. And I still love generating leads to this day. And I remember that day specifically saying, "Hey, kind of don't forget what got you here," which now that we have 45 agents doing 900, pacing 900 deals this year, it still goes back to we still have to generate leads. We still have to give value to the community, talk to buyers and sellers, figure out who needs our help. There are people out there today in your phone, in your sphere, that need a really good realtor to navigate the biggest financial transaction they're going to make. If you want it bad enough that you believe, you can deliver that value and kind of go through this very stressful process for consumers and really guide them through it at a higher level than someone else. Like that's always my motivation to go out and make the next call. And
And
I
so,
think we have that mindset and that culture within our team.
so you're sitting in your brand new office with no furniture.
Yeah,
How did that process go? Was your mindset okay? I'm going to rebuild like now with what I know, as fast
yeah,
as possible. What was kind of the driving goal?
yeah. So it's really interesting. So I felt like with the first time around, I was learning as we were doing. So it was the first team that I grew. I was only a year or two or three in real estate, and I felt like I really knew exactly what I wanted the second time around. And one of the biggest things was we are going to grow at a pace that feels natural and controlled, not because we have a set number in mind of agent count or locations or transactions. And it's funny, I know a lot of people say you have to begin with the end in mind, and there's no doubt you have to have, you know, goals are great, but in my past experience growing the team, I felt like we were too fixated on growing to a number and not growing the right way and staying true to who you were. And now we are, outpacing and lapping, kind of the market in a lot of different teams because we really haven't been fixated on a number of agents and we focused on who we want to be. And that controlled growth has really helped us. So back to 2015, when I'm sitting there in the office, I said, okay, I don't really have a number in mind. I know I want to grow a team, but Leo, I always thought I was going to have just kind of a SEAL Team 6 mentality, just a small team doing 30, 40, 50 deals a person, and we'll do 200, 300 deals and life will be good. Well, then you hire your first one and your first buyer's agent starts doing really well. And then it's natural to hire the second one because you have leads value. You feel like you can handle it. You have a good culture has remained intact with the two or three people. And then you hire the next one. And then you start naturally, not because you have to do it, but because you want to do it and you feel like you're in a good position to do it. You start growing at a pace beyond what you initially thought. So, I mean, to me, it was a slow and steady process. We were looking to add anywhere from zero to one or two agents a month. And if it was zero, that was completely fine. But the one thing we haven't wavered from is agent productivity. And I told myself as a team leader round two, I would never sacrifice agent productivity for agent count. So in 2015, which was my first year growing Best Life, by the end of the year, I think we had 6 or 7 agents. We averaged about 24 or so deals per agent. Right
That's
now, we have about 40 to 43 agents, and we're going to do 900 transactions this year. We're still pacing 20 to 22 closings per agent on the team, going from six
it,
agents to basically 40 or 45.
so pause right there because I think that puts you probably like if not number one, like in the top five of PPP, which is a metric I'm obsessed with. And just
Sure.
for context for everybody listening, in 2024, at scale, we were 5.4, right? So you'd be surprised how
Sure.
many times I'm on a call with a team leader who's like, oh, yeah, I have this many transactions and this many agents. And my spidey sense goes up. It's like, wait, you said 160 transactions and 54 people, right?
Sure.
And then my next question is always like, how many did you do? And it's normally like 50 or 60, right? I think 50
Yeah.
or 60 is where any human kind of tops out in a sustainable level.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, my best year, my highest personal production as a solo was 99, and that was unsustainable. But I could consistently
Sure.
do 40 to 60 units all by myself every year. And I
Yep.
normally did
Yep.
it as a team leader to remind them that I'm still in the trenches, right? Um,
Sure.
what is the distribution for if 20 to 24 is the average? Is
Yep.
someone still doing 50 or 60 and then someone's doing 12, or is it really close to like 2 a month per person?
Yeah, there's always a little bit of that, but I would say, I mean, I was just looking at our leaderboard. It's really not as top heavy as you would think. I think the top agent, we might have five agents that are going to do anywhere from 40 to 55 deals. Um, and then, most of the agents on the team, I would say are doing, let's say, high teens to 30. I mean, that's 60% of our team, which is really, really, good. So,
And is the
go,
bottom
go ahead.
30% the newer folks who just haven't gotten ramped up on the
Yep.
system?
Yeah, yeah, it's a combination of it's either newer folks that just haven't got into the groove, or I always say we don't have a production metric for our team, but we are a producing team. So one of the things I love, just objectively about EXP is it really took the pressure off me as a team leader to make the team the right choice for them, or they have had to go elsewhere. I don't look at it like that at all. To me, it's we're a producing team, and obviously with team, comes significantly higher splits than if you're an independent agent at EXP. If you're not doing that 12 to 15 deals or more as a team leader, it just doesn't make sense for a model. And I feel bad having a higher split. Why don't you just partner with us at EXP? You can still be a part of our ecosystem, go at your pace instead of ours, and we'll still support you, keep you at EXP, help you convert leads, help you generate your own business. And now you're just getting 80 to 90 to 100% of the pot. So it really took the pressure off me as a team leader to say, I have two solutions for you. And just because you join the team doesn't mean Indy isn't the right fit. And just because you start Indy, within us, within our organization at EXP, doesn't mean the team isn't the right fit down the road as well. It really gives us that flexibility, which as a team leader, I absolutely love.
What do you see as the average lifespan on your team versus like do most folks, because and by the way, I think people join teams for multiple reasons, not only leads
Yep.
and coaching and support. I think a lot of
Sure.
team members, I know folks who've been on a team 8, 9, 10 years. I actually had a friend who was started on a team, went on his own, started his own team, realized he didn't like it, closed it down, and then
Mm-hmm.
went joined another friend of ours' team and was there for like 10
Mm-hmm.
years. Um, and he was happy as could be, right? He said, I make
Yep.
two, $300,000 a year. I have no liability. They spoon feed me leads.
Yep.
He was really good at closing, and he became the listing partner on the team because he
Yep.
was a seasoned agent. So anybody listening who's been in the business 10 years, like there are scenarios where I would encourage you to be open to the opportunity because if you could be the listing partner on a high performant team at a good price point, like you can make three, four, $500,000 a year without any life.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think every team operates a little bit differently. I mean, my goal as a team leader, I mean, it's my job to keep you. And I think that's a great problem if we have people that are really growing and starting to do, a lot of business. It allows us to have, what I call some big boy conversations, and talk about what it looks like for us to continue to partner together. So as the team, as Best Life has evolved over the last 7, 8 years, we've evolved with, creating different, models or increasing, income or leadership opportunities within the team to keep some of our longest tenured people here and our highest producers here. But I think that's good problem for me if we're in a position in an agent. We've trained them, coached them, guided them, taught them how to hunt, and they've evolved into a killer in the last, over a 2 or 3 year stretch. And then we have to have those conversations as, hey, what is best for you? Is it starting your own team? Is it going solo at EXP? Is it staying within our ecosystem? Is it becoming an expansion partner? We've opened up a few different locations, Leo, where we have a couple different expansion partners who are running their own teams underneath us. So that's the fun of it. Is the strategy on my end is how do I keep some of our top producers here happy, fulfilled, so they don't feel like the grass is greener and they have to go elsewhere, meaning off Best Life and Company.
So the last topic I'll touch on because you went there is expansion. What in my experience, I think expansion was overhyped in the last decade. And a
Sure.
lot of people did it that shouldn't have done it or didn't have a good roadmap. I have
Hmm.
several examples of super successful expansion, and from my vantage point, it should be lead gen based, right? Like you have this killer model, whether it's is a Zillow Flex or a developer, a builder, a hedge fund, some entity that says, "Hey, come here. I have this lead funnel." Um, Candidly, I haven't seen anyone really successfully scale the leadership portion. Like, hey, I have this model that's leadership and training based without a strong lead gen funnel, because
Sure.
anything that's not HQ is an outpost, right? And the hub and
Sure.
spoke models, how they're all ran. So talk to me about that because I find that fascinating. Something that's still evolving and changing every day.
Yeah, well, so we've done it in a couple different ways. So we're in the Metro Detroit market, of course. So our first expansion office was about 40 minutes away from us, right? So it was in the same market. It was just 40 minutes away. So the nice thing about that is we kind of tapped I guess coined our expansion partner about 6 to 9 months prior to us opening up that office, right? And just learning second time around, growing a second team. I didn't want to open up another office until we felt like we had the agents and the deals on grand opening date, right? I didn't want to open first and then figure it out. I wanted to kind of have the infrastructure and then open an office because we needed it. So we were pretty intentional about recruiting agents, 40 minutes north geographically. So we really focused on the recruiting piece and said, if we feel like we have a half a dozen solid agents, then we're ready to open up this office. So, it was definitely, people first, make sure you have the sales, and then it doesn't become an expense, it becomes an investment because you already have the business that's going to open and operate out of that office. So our expansion partner really was an expansion partner within our headquarters 6 to 9 months before he opened up his own office. He was doing the recruiting, he was doing the coaching of the agents. It was really just under one roof instead of two. So that was the first one that worked out really well.
Was there a heavy lead component, or was it training and culture based?
So at the time we were, we had just started with Flex. So we did have Zillow Flex, which was super helpful. But at the time, SOI, so self-generated business, was 2/3 of our total business, even when we had Flex.
And by
And
the
that
way,
percentage was even,
don't keep it that way, right? If you've heard me on the flex calls, I try to tell you guys don't let any single source that you don't control become more than 25% of your business.
well, don't ask me about this year. We're fighting the good fight because Zillow is a great partner for us. But last year it was 2/3 self-gen, 1/3 Zillow. This year it should end up about 50-50. But we felt it was sustainable to open up that expansion office, especially because we had 6, 7 agents that were generating quite a bit of self-generated deals. And it happened to be in a market that I grew up in, and I had a pretty good
Yeah,
network.
and if you
Yeah,
notice, I didn't say Zillow. I said any lead source you don't control, right?
exactly.
It
Yep,
could be Realty,
exactly.
it could be a developer, it could be Fannie Mae for me
Yep,
once upon a time. Because what
yep.
I learned very painfully was someone at a corporate office could just make a business decision that has nothing to do with your personality, your performance. Like,
100%.
hey, we're going to
Yep.
go from direct to outsource. We're going to go from in-house to outsource, right? Like developers will do that. They'll get to certain capacity. It's like, hey, it's great knowing you, Ken. I'm just going to hire someone for X
Yep.
dollars in on payroll. So
Yep.
I always give that same advice to everybody. It's like, look, if you don't control the creation of that lead, which in SOI you do, fill in the
Hmm.
blank, put in the entity name, put in the market cycle. You are subject to their business model change. Like a company could get acquired, right? During REO,
Yep.
I had all of IndyMac for 3 states, and Friday afternoon I was watching the news, and they were taken over by the FDIC, and I was like, "Uh oh, I don't think that's a good thing." And then the next morning,
Right.
the next business morning, I get a call saying, "Send us all the keys." I was like, "That's not cool," right? So, in
Yep.
general terms, agnostic of market cycle, client base. It's always like the more you can control. And where I get excited for agents, it's like in today's world of social media, um, when you got started, that wasn't as prevalent, right? You're probably still very
Right.
database driven, calls, pop buys, physical
Yep.
mailer, versus now,
Yep.
like you're just connected to these people, and just interacting and commenting on their family stuff, right? Genuine interest.
Absolutely.
Like, so much like when you call somebody to check in, like you did in 2014, you
Yep.
actually have a whole lot to talk about. Say, hey, congratulations on the third kid or winning that soccer tournament. Like, because like we all publicly display what's most important to us, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's a
And I go, Oh, go ahead, Leo.
No, I was going to say in the wrap up, right? I liked what you said in the middle there that it's always messy, right? And that's
Yep.
actually something I say all the time, which is success is messy, right? I think people imagine
Yep.
success as a finished destination, right?
Sure.
Versus it's always on fire. There's always an emergency. There's
Yep.
always this. So, um, what do you see the next couple of years looking like? And again, by the way, I love your thesis of like less about units or agent count, right? But
Yep.
how do you see the next couple of years? Is it being in more places? Is it better net? Is it how do you look at if we were having this conversation again 3 to 5 years from now? What would you be like?
Sure.
"Yeah, we crushed it. We actually accomplished the goal."
For sure. It's a good question. It's funny. We just had a EOS vision building day 2 yesterday, 9 hours of offsite. So we spent 9 hours trying to figure that out. I think what we've been really proud of, and we speak to our team a lot about this, is we have been able to grow at an organic, controlled, and comfortable rate without sacrificing kind of who we are and staying true to ourselves. And because we haven't focused on the end goal of being number one in Michigan, being top five and top four right now in sides at EXP in the entire country, we are really just climbing up the leaderboard and climbing up the charts by focusing and just staying true to who we are. And who we are is a team that, team of good people that like each other, love real estate. They care about doing real estate the right way, and they're held to a significantly higher standard than the average realtor. So I think that we have a little bit of a badge of honor, and we're proud of the fact that we're on a daily training call from 8:30 to 9 every day. We're proud of the fact that we have a monthly sales and coaching and leadership team meeting. We're proud of the fact that everybody in our entire company gets coached by a sales coach twice a month, and we do things a little bit differently. And we always say at Best Life, we're built different. And because of that, we're okay with growing because we're not sacrificing some of our kind of core principles. Of course, agent productivity and the feeling that we're a much smaller team and company than we are. So we have about 40 agents or 42 agents. It's 42 across 3 locations. So as long as we can feel small and have that family environment and still continue to grow the right way, it's really cool to go to a team meeting once a month and have 45 agents and be like, holy shit, this is kind of cool. It's not just about the 17 people in Royal Oak or the 17 in Romeo, the 7 in Grand Rapids. Like we're doing something really, really special. Same way when I go to EXPCon in October, I say, holy cow, I'm in my bubble. A lot of times we feel and operate independently as Best Life and Company, but we're really a part of something a lot bigger than ourselves and something pretty cool. So we try to keep that feeling and that culture of kind of family and smallness as we continue to scale. And then from a production standpoint, we just keep, the main thing, be very hands on, make sure everybody has good coaches, really good support, continue to just, as you're the chief growth officer, I feel like I'm the chief growth and the chief education officer. And it's my job to constantly, give value from an educational standpoint on how to sell better, sell differently, think differently as it relates to human psychology and sales and conversion so that we can get all 43 agents to 24 deals a year or more, all making 6 figures. And as long as we focus on that, I think the results will take care of themselves.
Well, that's a perfect way to end it. I appreciate all the nuggets. Let people know where they should follow you so they can keep up with you
Totally.
and interact with you. And other than
Yeah.
that, keep
Yeah.
on doing what you're doing.
That's great. Yeah. So Ken Hirschman again. Follow me on Instagram at Ken Hirschman Realtor. Our team is Best Life and Company, and you can follow us on Insta at Best Life and Co. Not .com, but at Best Life and Co. So if you guys have any questions, want to DM me, happy to chat, and I look forward to chatting with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing today.